Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to paint Headhunter Nidalee's body. This video is made in a collaboration with NuskulArt, whose Patreon will be in the description along with the model's link. As always, feel free to change any colors you do not have or like. Without further ado, let's get to painting. We will start the project by painting the skin. As Nidalee's skin is dark, we will cover it with a couple of layers of Blood River flesh. I went for it straight to the primer. If you don't feel comfortable about it, you can paint something dark like Bugman's Glow first. Afterwards, we will paint the armor and boots with Vallejo's dark green from the Game Color series. Take your time as there is a lot of places to paint around the limbs and the body. With XV88 we are going to paint the rings around Nidalee's body and limbs. Said rings exist on the leg pieces but not on the arms. Use the belly of the brush to avoid making any mistakes, as we don't want to paint over the skin. Along with the rings we will paint the belt which holds the teeth and the area around her neck. In case of any mistake happening while doing this, fix it immediately. Loading up with Abaddon Black, and this time for sure using the belly of the brush, we will paint the net on Nidalee's legs and arms. The topology is a bit weird at some parts, so mistakes are more common than not. Do not worry and just fix them as soon as you are able. By diluting Agrax Earthshade with contrast medium in a 1:1 ratio, we will shade the skin. Let the shade dry and then go for another layer. If after the second layer the skin is not as dark as you would like, repeat the process. Shade over the black net at the limbs as well. Alternatively, you can use a Lamian medium, although I would not recommend it, as contrast is way better and for the same price. Before shading the armor, we will work on a few details to avoid mistakes that cannot be fixed. With Wraithbone, we will start painting the teeth on the belt. The small strips that decorate the teeth will be painted with Black Templar. You can paint them whatever color you like. I wanted something dark to contrast the pastel white of the teeth. Subsequently, we will dilute another contrast paint, Snakebite Leather, with contrast medium in 1:1 ratio and go over the ochre of the belt and neck. It is time to shade the armor. Using Quelea Green Shade, we will go over all green areas of the model. Let it dry for as long as it takes. If you paint all the pieces in the same time, I guess by the time you shade the final piece, the first one would be dry. If the shade does not dry as fast as you want, you can pass the time by painting the metal nails with Retributor armor. Afterwards, shade them with Agrax Earthshade, this time undiluted. Let the shade dry. As it is only a small quantity, it will dry fairly quickly. Then, give the nails a nice highlight with Retributor armor. Start from the middle and go above. You can follow this step with Auric Armor Gold if you so desire. Before we apply highlights on the skin and armor, we will finish the belt and rings. This will help us hide any mistakes under the highlights. Therefore, we will dilute Skeleton Horde with contrast medium in a 2:1 ratio and shade the teeth on the belt. Afterwards, once the contrast is 100% dry, we will pick the areas the light would hit and give them a nice highlight with Wraithbone. Top of the Wraithbone highlights with details of pallid witch flesh at the very center of them. You can make a mid-tone of the two colors if you want to smooth the transition, However, both are similar colors, so if your paint is thin enough, it will do the trick on its own. Going back to XV88, we will add a few highlights on the belt's most raised areas. Disclaimer, this is a step I forgot to do until the very end, so what you see on the screen is the finished piece more or less. Moving to the rings, we will mix 1:1 XV88 and palette witch flesh and start adding highlights. Here it is a good idea to fit the parts together as to add all the highlights in the correct position. This is also helpful for future steps as this adds a marker for the direction of the light. Top off the mid-tone with a few details of pure palette witch flesh at the center of the pieces. This is another step I forgot to do until the very end. Finish off the rings with a layer of Casadora yellow. Do not dilute the shade. Using any pure white, we will paint inside the weird marks on the upper back. I do not know how they are called, so if you do, please write me down in the comments. Do not fix any mistakes yet, especially the central area. Shake extremely well the pot of Tesseract Glow. Then apply a layer over the white area we painted previously. Apply up to 2 layers but no more. More layers will make the paint matte and we don't want that. Afterwards, fix any mistakes you did in this and the previous step. Let's highlight the skin now. With Blood River Flesh, we will paint the areas of the skin that are raised and away from the recesses. For the legs, you can use the highlights we did in a previous step to see where the light would hit and start highlighting the general direction. You can fit the arms on the model and use the main body's ring to show you the direction of the light. Then mix one portion of Night Quester flesh into our Blood River in order to make a 1:1 mid-tone. With said mid-tone, we will apply a highlight on the areas we painted in the previous step. Once done with all the highlights, we will separate the mid-tone into 2 sides on the palette, just like a very specific alliance did to a very specific city after the Second World War. On one side of the mid-tone, we will add one portion of Blood River Flesh, so the ratio is 2:1 Blood River to Night. With this mix, we will paint around the skin highlight we did in the previous step, so that we blend the colors a bit. Using pure Night Quester Flesh, we will add details on the skin over the previous highlight. Pick the highest areas as well as the center of all areas the light would hit. We will go back to the mid-tone on the side that is still 1:1 and add one portion of Night Quester Flesh so that it is a 1:2 Blood River to Night. With this color we will blend the details with the highlight, so paint around the details you made but not over them. Alright, let's highlight the armor now. Starting with dark green, let's remove the shade from all the spots the light would hit. Same goes for the armor on the arms and the boots. Then we will make a mix of Warpstone Glow and dark green, 2:1. Give a highlight over the areas we lightened up in the previous step. We do 2:1 because 1:1 has almost no difference from the pure dark green, it just takes over the warpstone. Afterwards, another mix is going to be made, this time consisting of Warpstone Glow and Deep Green, again 2:1. A second highlight will be added on all previously highlighted areas. try to paint from halfway towards the light source. Finally, with pure warpstone glow, we will add details on all highlights. Feel free to blend the levels of the color as much as you like. I haven't blended them myself on the armor, so I cannot demonstrate you how to do it. You can use the technique we used on the previous step though. Completely optional, you can add a glow-in-the-dark effect on the tesseract area. I used Aurora from Space Beams, and with just a little bit of charge under a light, it glows for a long time. All that remains to finish is the cloth that exists both on the front and back side. For both cloth pieces, the procedure is exactly the same. We start by painting them entirely with Incubi Darkness. Then we make a 1-to-1 mix of Incubi Darkness and Kabbalite Green. With it, we try to catch all raised areas on the cloth. If any mistakes happen, leave it as it is. Also try to catch the edges on the pieces as well. In order to blend the colors of the base and the highlight, we will give the pieces a layer of Eldari Emerald. In case you do not have the specific contrast paint, you can go with a couple layers of Coelia Green shade. Keep in mind that if you go with Coelia, the result will be a little bit more green. Once we are sure the contrast has dried fully, we will go back to the mid-tone of Incubi and Kabbalites and go over most of the highlights we did. This time being careful not to make any mistakes and covering less area than before. Into the mix, we will add one more portion of Kabbalite Green so that it becomes 2-to-1 Kabbalite to Incubi. With the new mix, we will add a second highlight over the most raised areas only. Immediately after, we will use pure Kabbalite Green and add details to the same raised areas. Using Coelia Green Shade, we will shade once more the cloth pieces in order to blend all the new colors we applied with the older. Let the shade dry naturally before continuing. Final step, go over the details of Kabbalite Green and with the same color, pick some and reapply it. The result should look like this. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribing also helps the channel grow. Also, don't forget to check NuskulArt's Patreon for more awesome models. All colors used are on your screen now. I was MiniatureUrsus, thank you for watching and I will see you on the next one. Also, here's a recommendation on what to watch next.